Hello and welcome everyone to another special video conversations on Awaz-e-Haqiqat, which also translates to the voice of truth. I'm your host, Chris Malika Bhadra, and as you can see on my screen, I'm joined by two very prolific people who are very passionate about what they're doing at the grassroots level, what they're doing for the community, who probably don't have a strong voice as we do. So I'm talking to the Nazareth Foundation. But before I formally introduce the group and my guest, I would like to start by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which I'm meeting with my guest tonight. I come from the land of the Kulin Nation, and I would also like to extend my respect to all the elders, past, present, and emerging. On that note, a little bit about the Nazareth Foundation. The Warli community who live in the backyard of Mumbai in the urban forest of Aarey form the core of this foundation. The foundation, run by Cassandra, Nazareth, Blasia, Pinto, Mahesh, Bariya, and Rita, Newnes, Pooja Sinha, has worked in creating livelihood for the women by providing them basic amenities in over 12 villages in Aarey, 11 villages in Sanjay Gandhi National Park, and 6 villages at Madh Island. Through the foundation's flagship program, Tribal Tadka, these guys have been able to transform the lives of communities in the villages. The women today are able to host the Tribal Tadka lunch or breakfast programs along with the flea market, and are also capable of providing a village experience to any and everyone who visits them. The program also includes a Warli art and craft workshop with a village walkabout and a sumptuous meal. So this is about the Nazareth Foundation. Moving on to the founder, Cassandra Nazareth. Hers is a very impressive bio, but I've decided myself to pick up bullet points from bio, but I will post everything about these guys when I release the video. Please stay tuned to our conversation tonight. Cassandra is a resident of Mumbai. She is the founder of Tribal Tadka social enterprise for the Warli women of Aarey Forest that has expanded around Mumbai. She is a supporter of the hashtag Save Aarey, Save Mumbai movement. She became a lawyer when she was 55 and is a mentor to nonprofits and startups as well. Cassandra creates change, that's a hashtag that she follows. She puts her education and experience to use to make this world a better place. Crisis management is her forte. On that note, welcome, Cassandra. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much.
And the man in the middle of us, Mahesh Bariya, is a chartered accountant by qualification and a wall mural and Warli art expert by passion. He is the anchor for the Warli art workshop at our hashtag tribal lunch events and has been part of our hashtag Project Roots, that is teaching Warli art to the women and children at the tribal villages at Aarey and to other Mumbai residents online and offline as well. The purpose is to keep alive the Warli art tradition within the community and to create awareness about the art amongst Mumbaikars. In his spare time, he is busy beautifying walls around Mumbai city with traditional folk arts of India, such as Warli, Gond, Madhubani, etc. He and his team had an art installation at the prestigious Kala Ghoda Art Festival, Mumbai in 2019. He was part of the Tribal Food Festival at the Marriott Hotel Renaissance, Mumbai, and also part of the Step Festival, Bandra, Mumbai, and has been the judge for many Maharashtra state-level art competitions. Good afternoon, Mahesh. Thank you for joining me. How are you? You muted, Mahesh.
Thank you so much for the lovely introduction and having us here.
My God, you guys have such heavy introduction. I'm feeling like this little in front of both of you. So
you shouldn't. Don't worry.
Nah, thank you. I have to thank both of you for giving me your time. I know how you busy you guys are, and this is Sunday afternoon. Thank you so much. Without wasting any more of your time, I'll jump straight away into the conversation. Cassandra, I'll start the first question with you first. Mahesh, I'll come to you after Cassie has spoken. And Cassandra, I'm taking the liberty to...
You can call me Cassie. There's no problem at all. Don't worry.
We have heard a bit about the Nazareth Foundation, Cassie, but I would like you to expand on it. Like, when was TNF founded and what was the core vision?
I think TNF was founded much later. It's when Blasia, Mahesh and myself found ourselves in Aarey Forest one day. And there was this art festival, and I remember Mahesh calling me up in the morning and saying, I don't care, you have to give me a wall. I want to paint. And that is how I bumped into Mahesh. And then I cottoned onto him and I used him to channelize this enthusiastic, artistic talent that he had.
Yeah.
into part of the vision which I had, and of sort of empowering the Warli community. And thanks to Mahesh, today we are teaching Warli art back to a community that's losing its roots in urban Mumbai,
Amazing.
which is something that we witnessed and which is at the core of what we do at the Nazareth Foundation. Because when we talk of empowering women, the reason why we started with the women, remember Mahesh, was because
Yes.
we discussed this. We said, if we empower the women, okay, they pull the entire family up. So that's why our focus was the women. Initially, all the painting work and everything was done by women. Okay, it is now that we've slowly expanded, and some of the men folk have also come into part of Mahesh's mainstream program. So our focus has essentially been the women. And when we started our work, we realized that the women had no skills. They had absolutely no skills. Some of them could cook. Some of them could do a little bit of Warli painting. So the people who could do Warli painting, I put them onto Mahesh. And I said, Mahesh, this is canvas material. Okay. Because see, I don't like just painting things. I always believe that whatever you create by way of art has to have some utility value, because that is how art speaks to us in our daily life. So I told Mahesh, these are the people who say that they know art. Why don't you just figure out what they can do? I want to create a line of Warli art products from the community. You take charge of it. Okay. So that's how we started doing what we call the Warli canvas bags, which is a hottest selling item today. A lot of people from abroad who come to India, okay, and they have seen some of their friends who have been gifted bags or carried bags back. They come and they buy a whole lot of bags and take it back to the community. And that is what fuels the program. It's like a circular kind of economy, because Mahesh teaches them paint. Okay, they paint onto cloth, they paint onto coasters. What are the other things that they paint? Mahesh, talk about the artifacts.
We recycle the bottles, we recycle the diyas, we recycle any damn product which can be recycled, can be reused. We use that in our artifact and we reproduce the art and give back to the society.
I was going through the website when I was doing some research to talk to you guys, and I saw the bottles and the bags. And the next time I'm in India, I'm going to buy one bag.
Thank you so much. We can ship it to you. So we can do something like that.
Yeah. Mahesh, over to you. So Cassandra has given us a little overview of how TNF was founded, and also how you got attached. But I would like to know from your perspective of TNF and the vision and your contribution.
So basically, myself, Mahesh, I'm a artist by passion, you can say. And 2016, when we first time met during the MTA Junkyard project, and when we roaming around the Aarey villages, we seen many tribals, many other people. Even myself is a tribe. Basically, I also a tribe, actually. But when I seen the tribal people struggling there and they're losing their own art form, they're losing own traditions and everything, then we thought, this is the right time to rejuvenate it. And that's how I got attached to this whole idea of Tribal Tadka. And I'm working with Cassandra since first of the lunch till now. More than 150 of workshops I must have conducted so far as the Warli art is concerned. And I'm teaching tribal women's, tribal children's, other Mumbaikars, and I'm literally rebonding, or I'm generating. It is like an idea of a coexistence of a city called Mumbaikar and a cultural exchange, or a kind of art exchange programs what we run between the city called Mumbaikar and the villages, so they can come together, they can understand the things and understand the value of the art and give back to the society again. That's how the whole agenda was, like to bring the Mumbaikar again to the forest zone, tribal regions, to give them a value perspective wise what the value of the tribal tadka is, and including the handicrafts and other things. At the same time, giving livelihood to the women's and the other people in the padas or the villages, through the art form, basically.
Absolutely. I think, Mahesh, you've mentioned something which is very profound, that you're bridging the gap actually, because we, the city dwellers, have lost so much touch with our roots, which are back in the villages and the countryside. What you guys are doing is amazing, that you're bridging the gap between these two communities. And that is something we really need, because I think city dwellers have forgotten how to get in touch with nature completely. This is what I feel.
This conversation reminded me, Mahesh, of how we had a friend in Germany, a friend's brother, basically, who's relocated to Germany. Their family reached out to us and said, hey, can you teach our expat kids in Germany Warli art? So I told Mahesh, come on, we've been doing this in COVID times, so it's not going to be too difficult having an online session. So this is something maybe we could have even for your podcast, people. Let's think about it.
Yeah.
Because we had such a lovely session. It was a 2-hour session. Mahesh taught them the basics of Warli. And then these kids went on to create artifacts, which they had a sale for. They had a sale of Warli art. And such gorgeous items they made. They sent us a video. Mahesh and myself couldn't believe that this came out of a, 2-hour workshop, Mahesh?
Yeah, very much. 2 hours workshop,
Yeah.
4 days in a stretch, every day 2 hours. And we used to experiment with the different art forms, from starting from the basic till going at the advanced stage. And we experimented on the different surface of the art form, basically. Like painting on the paper, through painting on the bottles, painting on a different, yes, 3D
We
impact and
recycle
all.
CDs. Yeah.
Products and that's how they also loved the idea, and they literally went ahead and they made their own product. They sent me the pictures, and they're like, now we are selling in our sale actually.
Yeah, that's amazing. But
so this project roots is beyond only the Warli community. It's also teaching, let's say, traditional art forms to urbanized communities as well.
And with technology, Cassandra, everything is now global. You're just not in Mumbai.
Exactly.
You're globally effective, right?
Yeah, and I think COVID has taught everybody and has given everybody the confidence that we can be online.
Yeah, everything was done online in those 4 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Local art.
Yeah, sorry.
Local art is literally reaching to the global walls nowadays.
Yes. Yes, that's what I meant. Yeah.
We have some trams in Mumbai with local, what do you call that, graffiti, which represents India and Calcutta. So yeah, art especially has the power to touch everyone anywhere, I believe.
Correct. That's true.
Moving on.
Well, obviously, art on all of their walls, actually.
Yeah. I want to talk about some of your projects, right? So I was going through your page and I found that these projects were mentioned on Nazareth Foundation's Facebook page. So you have some current projects in progress that seek to empower women in Aarey Forest and Sanjay Gandhi National Park. But when we talk about these projects, what are some of the obstacles that you basically face when you're trying to bring, let's say, modern technology to these original communities that are somewhere in the shadows?
The biggest problem, I think Mahesh also is aware of, is because of lack of purchasing power, because of economic weaknesses. The community is not able to buy tech-enabling hardware. I mean, as simple as a cell phone, for instance. When we started the thing, none of our women had cell phones.
Right.
Okay, it was only the menfolk who had cell phones, and they would take the cell phone and go to work. So it was very challenging to work with the women because everything had to be done on ground. Then slowly, as we identified certain women who did have cell phones or who would share the cell phone with their husband or whatever in the evening, we started training them to be tech savvy because we knew it's very top heavy for us to, I mean, transport costs a lot for us to visit Aarey Forest each time.
Right.
Okay? It costs us almost what, rupees 900 to 1,000 rupees to go up and down.
How far is it?
It's for me, even where Mahesh is, it's a good 25-30 kilometers, right, Mahesh? From point to point. And it does take time. So our only luxury is our transport bill, I'll be honest with you, because there is no public transport where we go. Okay, these are leopard infested areas. very, very remote, where our women have to walk for a minute, or the community, in fact, has to walk for a minimum of 2 kilometers from their village to come to the main road. And mind you, this is urban Mumbai, which is one of the premier cities in India.
Yeah.
If that is the reality that we are living with, you can imagine what it is like in other places. There was a community which I stumbled upon within Aarey, which is a stone's throw literally from the Western Express Highway, who did not have electricity till 2018. Okay. And I got a shock when I went into that village to distribute grain. And I saw that they did not have electricity. So I asked them, I said, what is this? They said, yes, we don't have electricity. And this village is within the precincts of a government veterinary college. So the government had taken away their lands in 1972. Okay. And mind you, this is 2018 when I stumbled upon them. No, I stumbled upon them in 2016. Okay. And they didn't have electricity. And this is bordering a highway where you have a mall. A mall uses how much of electricity? How many watts of brightness? Okay. And here is a community, an indigenous community, where the government has taken their lands. And we are teaching them Warli art and everything and all, and trying to get, livelihood enhancing skills, and basic technology of electricity is not there, is lacking. So I opened my big mouth and started a campaign on change.org. And Mahesh, with just 66,000 signatures, with less than 6 months after we started this campaign, the government heard us. They invited us for a meeting. I said, I'm not coming to the seat of power. You come to the villages and talk to them. So the government came to the villages. That's how we work. Wow. Mahesh knows, he's smiling, because that's how we work. We tell the powers that be, we are not coming to your seat of power. You want to understand what is happening here, you come to our villages. Correct, Mahesh?
Yes, that's how Batti Jalao campaign got live.
Yeah.
In reality.
The electricity campaign we call Batti Jalao. So that's the thing. Another thing is, when people come for the tribal lunch, why did I start the tribal lunch? For 2 reasons. One is to bring Mumbaikars to come, get them to come into Aarey forest. Yeah. So they see what a gem they have within their city. Okay. And I knew that with this interaction, the Warli community would benefit. Right enough, right, Mahesh? Because whatever projects wanted to do, or whatever the community wanted, whether it was electricity, whether it was refurbishing a borewell, whether it was asking for bio toilets, because sanitation was nil in these villages that we went to. So the interaction where people came into the village for a tribal lunch has helped both communities. Yeah. It has helped the urban Mumbaikar to realize that there exists an Aarey forest. And it has helped the interaction, because with the interaction, people reached out to Mahesh and me and said, how can we help? And we used to throw a full list of things that the community needed. And we said, pick and choose. Whether it was a simple, humble notebook that you wanted to distribute, or you wanted to distribute saris, or if you had a bigger budget, you could give us 60,000 rupees, which bought a bio toilet. Okay. 20,000 rupees buys a sewing machine. Okay, there are sewing machines that we do even, sorry, 20,000 was for the flour mill. Correct, Mahesh? Chakki.
Yes.
But the sewing machines we do for around 10,000. Okay. Then there was a water project that I wanted to do, because when people came for the tribal lunch, and even when we go to Aarey, our vehicle cannot climb that slope. So we have to get off and let the vehicle go up, and then we have to walk. And mind you, the community used to carry water uphill. Correct, Mahesh? They used to carry every single drop of water uphill. So when a corporate reached out to me and said, how can we help? I said, this is what I want done. So it was a 3.5 lakh project, which was happily paid for by a corporate thing. And today the village still has their water. They're using the water project that we've done. So it's a small thing. It's something that we saw, which we felt was not right. And we righted it.
Worked on it, yeah.
Yes, we worked on it and righted it. That's the ethos behind what we do. Correct, Mahesh? That's what exactly we do for everything.
Otherwise, you can't make things work. You just can't sit at home and expect change will happen. You have to work.
Yes, yes. So even during COVID, I mean, coming back to, you were talking about technology, right? Okay, so now I'm coming back to that point of technology. So because the women did not have cell phones, they were forced to work by their husbands or whatever.
Yeah.
And the husbands are very supportive. Initially, when we started the tribal lunch, there used to be little kids on their hips, on these women's hips while they were cooking. And after the second or third lunch, I didn't see any kids. So I said, where are your kids? So they said, today my husband is at home and he told me that you are going to earn today. So you go, I will look after the children. So without us realizing, we were already pushing gender barriers, you know, without us having like a big talk or a big seminar about it in the village or whatever. Yes, so those things, and we did not realize that those are things that were happening. These were things which were happening organically.
Yeah.
So about the technology, so the women used to use the husband's cell phone in the evening if we wanted to contact them. Half the time there's no network. Then as these women started earning, because this entire project got picked up by the press, people who came for the tribal lunch, their jaws dropped. They said, we never knew there existed a Warli community in our backyard. We used to drive out of the city for 3 hours to experience this kind of a culture, and it's here in our backyard. We never knew about it. You know, so as more and more people started getting involved in, the women were invited outside to various places for sales. And obviously, if you sell something, puts money into somebody's pocket, you generate more business, have another sale. So these women started getting money. So then they asked me to help them with opening bank accounts. That's where Mahesh, Blasia, and myself helped them. We got them PAN cards, we got them basically all the
documents. Yeah.
One thing I explained to them, I said, this earning is yours. It does not belong to the family. It's for you to use the way you want to. Okay. But the training we gave them came instead during COVID time. Because Mahesh, Blasia, and myself sitting at our desks at our various places were able to crowdfund more than 65 lakhs worth of funds, which we crowdfunded. And mind you, we were not registered. We had just got our registration 15 days before COVID hit, Mahesh, before the lockdown. The Nazareth Foundation registration had just come through. So I think it was a godsend because it's only because we had the registration and the bank account set up and everything that we could do this. But our women stepped up. They stepped up. They formed groups within their community. And whoever had a phone, okay, we told that person, okay, you are going to be our phone buddy in that village. The other person is there. And they had like 3 or 4 people who had phones in case, because the problem was also refilling the phone. Forget having a phone, it had to work. You know, remember Mahesh? So we had 2 or 3 people per village. And then we would send the food. Our women would distribute. They would click pictures. They would send us the pictures on WhatsApp. And that's how we could thank our donors saying, listen, this is what your money got. You know, so
amazing.
Crazy working, fun working.
But good, amazing results. So all just
yes.
Thanks, Cassie, for that. Mahesh, I'll come to you. So Cassandra has spoken a lot about technology. I wanted to ask you a certain subsection of that question did you face any kind of language barrier while connecting with these communities? Like in the city, you know how we speak Chalao Hindi and English and all of that. But I'm assuming, I could be wrong, that these guys have their own dialect. Did you ever face that problem of getting them on a similar platform where language is concerned?
Yes, language is a concern in some of the villages. Yeah, I completely agree with you here because they generally speak a native language, which is the Marathi, basically. And I recollect my first of the session when I was giving in, I never realized that other community members are also in the same list of the beneficiary who are getting empowered for the art that what I'm giving. Okay. And people who are native to the villages, typical tribal people, and they doesn't understand even Hindi. Now I need to do in their own language. So I started doing the tutti putti Marathi and then giving instructions in Marathi and all, and now I'm good to go. But the point is, there was some barrier, but nowadays speak Hindi as well very good.
So you've bridged quite a lot of gaps there, technology, language, and you're preserving. So that brings me to the next question, Mahesh, and I'll start with you this time because this kind of flows very nicely. Is that when you do all this work, which is amazing, I am really inspired. How do you bridge the gap between heritage preservation and modernism? When you work with these communities and when you're bringing city Mumbai and countryside Mumbai on the same platform?
Yes. So generally for my, if you visit any of my workshop, I generally use, because the art belongs to nature, I generally use nature stuff only. For example, my palette becomes a leaf of the tree. Generally I use, and everything goes for, like, it can be buried, it can be used or as a compost, basically. After the art class over, everything can be buried and can be used as a compost, to be very honest.
Okay.
Don't use any plastic, anything, the material which cannot be biodegradable. This is one thing. So as far as the Mumbaikars and the cityers and the tribal people are concerned, generally earlier I used to have a classes together. I used to bridge the gap. Even the city people or their children also be in the same classroom. Even the tribal also would be in the same classroom.
Yeah.
So they can exchange in between their ideas also while I'm teaching them. So this is used to generally used to conduct the classes.
Right. Good. Cassie, I'll come to. Oh, sorry.
As the heritage is concerned, I generally start with the like what earlier is to be there. I try to be very originative, at the same time use the same technique which we used to use at the ancient time during the cave era. So same techniques, same thought we try to use to with the minor modern touches and give back to society.
Beautiful. Cassie, I'll come to you in a while, but I just had another question in my mind. I thought Mahesh would be more. I will ask you that also. Mahesh, often in the cities these days, we've started talking about domestic violence and how the gender equity is not balanced in our households. When you see a male in these communities or a household, do you see the dynamic is similar? Like they also have the same patriarchal system, or as Cassie mentioned, that you were slowly also kind of championing that change towards balancing the household. But do these guys also face similar forms of abuse as most of us women in the country, in the city do?
I have not seen much as compared to, like, if I go to typical villages, not that much what we heard about. Like there might be alcoholic people, drunk people, and they will be abusing or maybe beating the wives and all. But I have not seen that much as I have heard about during the other city people or other areas in the India as compared to the villages if I compare.
Right. Okay. Thanks, Mahesh. Cassie, I'll ask you. So there are now 3 questions. So you can just kind of wrap up everything if you like. First is, how do you guys bridge heritage conservation and modernism? And the second part is, when you see the dynamic there, you mentioned that the husbands were taking care of the kids. But other than that, how does abuse look like in their societies? Is it any different to what does it look in ours?
Okay. Coming to the first thing about preserving heritage, okay? Both, in fact, Mahesh is the one who sort of nudged me towards the thing that we have to preserve the heritage, keep on saying. So food is a very integral part of the Warli heritage. So we are trying to preserve it by bringing out a recipe book, because a lot of the recipes are in the heads of women. They make this amazing herbal tea, which is nothing but water, jaggery, and lemongrass. But when we make it at home, it's not the same. I don't know why. Today we were asking them and they were laughing and saying, maybe it's our water. So I said, I don't know, but it doesn't happen the same in my house. So we're trying to preserve the heritage by way of recipes. Art is something we're already doing. Okay. Coming back to the abuse, okay, in the community. Alcoholism is a big thing in the community. Okay. But as Mahesh rightly pointed out, and I'm glad you asked him that question first, because, we both look at all 4 of us, Blasia, Mahesh, Rita, and myself. Okay. We use different eyes to look at the work that we are doing. That is why I respect the inputs from all the other 3 colleagues, and we are not paid employees. We are volunteers. So I really value the inputs given by all these volunteers, the time given. And as I said, we look at it from different eyes. Mahesh will look at it from a different angle. So I'm glad you asked him that. And yes, I wholeheartedly agree with him. I have not seen domestic violence that way. Okay. Like alcoholism, yes. Okay. Mental health among the youngsters of late, okay, has become a big worry. And I'm hoping to be able to do something, but paucity of funds and also the lack of committed volunteers, because you can't start a mental health project which is here today, gone tomorrow. Right. It has to be in for the long haul. Like we are in for the long haul in terms of empowering the women. Yeah. We've been there, even though our first 2 groups of women have got employment in factories. Okay. When we started, Mahesh, they couldn't even hold a needle and thread. Today, they are sitting at sewing machines, making bags for the export market. So I'm very proud of them. They are proud of themselves where they've reached. That they have earned the respect of their own community. Like, for instance, when they cooked at the Marriott Hotel, when they were invited to cook, Mahesh was a very important part of it. We handheld them because they had never been into a 5-star hotel. Forget talking to an executive chef and giving him instructions. And the amount of confidence we had given them was enough for them. Like I remember Mahesh was doing his Warli art, and suddenly at my table, there was a squawk where I was selling artifacts. So Mahesh looked up, and here's this Warli woman who has come marching from the kitchen with this roti in her hand, and she's telling me, look at this roti. So I said, okay, what's wrong with it? So she's telling me, look at the edges. It's not round. It's all cracked. So I said, okay, fix it. She's saying, I can't, because their flour is all crap. So I said, okay, what can we do about it? You have to get me better flour, because from tomorrow, I am not making these rotis in this 5-star kitchen. So I said, okay, come on, let's go to the executive chef. Okay. But mind you, see the confidence we have given this.
Yeah.
Okay. And that is what this Tribal Tadka project is about. You empower people to stand on their own feet. Basically, you're building people's self-confidence. Okay? Because from self-confidence, you can build tremendous skill, which takes you out of your little milieu where you are scared like a mouse, and you become a share or a tiger in your workplace. Okay?
It's a chain reaction.
Yes. So all we've given these women is the confidence to be able to talk, to be able to get out of their villages, you know, and like when we started talking, they would look down, working with them, they would look down. And Mahesh also used to lift their, you know, some of the youngsters lift their chin and say, look at me and talk. And I would tell the women, why are you looking down? You need to look at my face and talk. And they would say, no, you are so much bigger. I said, bigger in mean I'm fatter than you, you know, or bigger in age because my hair is gray. No, you live in a flat. I said, you know how many people would die to live in the kind of houses you are living in, sustainable lives too. So we've reverse imbibed a sense of pride in their heritage. Absolutely. That is another thing. And all these have happened organically by conversation. Yeah. Also, when we take them out, when they're booked for an event outside, the appreciation they get from people, okay, because we don't put them behind a curtain and don't allow them to interact. No, they're there. You want to take a picture with the cooks? Please feel free. You know, you want to talk to any of them? Feel free to talk to them. You know, it's not like we are like hovering behind or anything of that sort. No. So they have the confidence. So coming back to the roti, we went to the executive chef at the Marriott, and he doesn't speak Marathi. And this lady, I mean, this woman, this Warli woman doesn't speak Hindi. And well, I speak Marathi, a little bit of their dialect, and over the years it's polished because my mother tongue is essentially Marathi. Yeah. Okay. Because I'm also an old inhabitant, very old inhabitant of Mumbai. Okay. One of the indigenous originals. So anyway, so then the executive chef tells me, okay, tell her to get the atta and come tomorrow. Get the flour and come. So she was very happy because we had crowdfunded and given each of these villages a little chakki, That is the flour mill.
Yeah.
So she went home. The millets were there. She ground the millets and she brought fresh ground millets the next day. Okay. Apparently, the trick was that the flour which was used had been resting for far too much time. So it had lost its moisture or whatever, and that's why it was cracking. But now a simple thing,
but the confidence is humongous.
Yeah, that is what I'm saying, the confidence. And I remember when we were going home that day, how much we were laughing about this. Mahesh, remember, 3 of us were going home in the rickshaw.
So, I want to ask one more question to both of you that links to this social issue as well. Probably Mahesh, I'll start with you again. We spoke about abuse, but Cassie mentioned that you guys also want to start something on mental health. Now, I have had my experiences with it, and I saw that it's next to impossible trying to explain this to your parents because we have never had that conversation before, right? So now when you're explaining mental health to a community who's probably living in a small village in a forest, how do you start explaining what mental health is to them? Mahesh, what do you think? How do we do that to them? How do we explain it to them?
See, we have seen the cases in earlier also, in past also, like a young children committing suicide and all during in the communities due to some pressure. Yeah, we have such cases during last 5 years. There were 2-3 incidences where the suicide has happened. Okay, so first we went to them and we tried to explain them why it has happened actually. So that was the first point. When we realized that mental health is impacting these communities and tried to explain them. And now at the stage, we are at the stage that they also realize that why it had happened, what went wrong actually. So people are understanding nowadays mental health is an issue actually. The tribal communities also.
One thing which came to mind when we talked about this, Mahesh, you remember when that helicopter fell from the sky? It fell into a field where very close to the village where we were. Yes, it actually fell. Okay, it was a joyride helicopter. The pilot was there and there was a couple there, and there was Lakma's family was working there in that field. Remember, Mahesh? So he's the headman of the village where we go to. He, his wife, and his 2 adolescent children, girls, were working on the fields there when the helicopter crashed into their field there. So this family actually pulled people out from the wreckage. They were the first responders because there was nobody else besides them. Okay. I remember Lakma's daughter was so traumatized. She did not speak for 4 months. Okay. And I used that opportunity to start conversations about mental health within the community because, see, when you are dealing with communities, especially communities who are so sort of backward from, let's say, what we would call forward urbanized life. Not that we are much greater. But the thing is, I use that to be able to explain to them that, listen, she's not talking because she's had a tremendous mental shock. Okay. So you need what is called therapy. They had never heard the word therapy. Explain to them. It's nothing but when you have a heart attack, you go to a heart doctor. Okay. So when you're shocked or you're depressed or whatever, you go to a mind doctor. Okay. Who is like a psychiatrist or a psychologist or something. I explain the difference between the two. So we use instances like this to talk about what can be done. Like similarly, we introduced a dermatologist into the community. The children were walking around with little sores all over their place and flies on them, So I said, no, something has to be done. So I dragged this dermatologist, college friend of mine, school friend of mine rather, to the village one afternoon. And I told her, now you tell me what to do. So all the children were running around and she said, it's very simple. She prescribed neem and whatever and everything, whatever they could find on their trees. And today the kids are perfect,
I mean, so when Mahesh told me about that,
part of the relearning. It's part of the relearning that we are teaching them again because they're losing the roots that they have.
Especially when Mahesh told me about there were suicide cases.
Yes, there are.
It's very unheard of. Yeah.
No, it's it was so ethereal because Blasia and myself were in our rickshaw going up to this village and we heard this tremendous wailing. Okay. So I said, Blasia, what is wrong? We get off our rickshaw and we figured out that two young kids had jumped into the well about 2 hours ago and their bodies were just fished out. Two people whom we know. Okay, two people whom we know. And what struck me most is two girl children, okay, whose families had gone through tremendous odds, tremendous sacrifice to put them to school and who had done grade, I don't know how your community, I mean, after what we do, 10 plus 2.
Yeah, so
11, 12. Yeah, so it's the same thing. Yeah, 12. So they had just finished their 12th standard. So what struck me is that their families had gone through tremendous hardships to educate these kids, and a suicide sort of in a second it's snuffed. And the amount of wailing, because the whole community goes into mourning when there is a death. I mean, when there is a death in the family, when there is a birth, and when there's a wedding. These are the three instances where you don't get anyone. If you're having a tribal lunch, when any of these three happen, God help us. It doesn't happen. A tribal lunch doesn't happen.
But even
what it's a very sad thing.
Weddings are still fine if you have just two people.
Yeah.
But in this time, if there's no one next to you, it's like the heaviest rock has fallen.
Yeah, it's very this way.
I'll move on. I'm mindful of your times as well, Cassie. I'm going to club the next two questions together, right? So the next two questions are a bit technical. One is, how do you secure seed funding? Or are you guys open to global funding as well? And with that, where does TNF see itself in the next 5 years? Cassie, I'll start with you, and Mahesh, I'll come to you.
We don't have global, we can't accept foreign funds because we don't have a foreign fund license. So what a lot of our well-wishers who do live abroad do, when they come to India, okay, they buy a whole lot of goods from us.
Merchandise.
Okay. Pay for it in Indian currency.
Okay.
Yeah. Directly into our bank account in INR, in Indian rupees. And they take it back with them, either by way of baggage or unaccompanied baggage. Some of them get friends or somebody to post it to them, So that is how we do, because we encourage people to buy stuff from these women.
Right.
Because, as I said, that is what this project is about. So that is one thing. So we can only accept funds in Indian rupees.
I know. Yeah. All right.
So a lot of people who live abroad, when they do come to India, that's when they come. Some of them have come with us to the showroom, paid for, let's say, a sewing machine, or paid for the chakki, or even the bio toilets when they've come to India.
Yeah.
So that kind of thing.
All right.
Mahesh.
Mahesh, I'll ask the second part of the question to you. Is where does the Nazareth Foundation see itself in the next 5 years or 10 years?
See, we are going organically. So far, we have done self-sustainable growth, to be very honest. We doesn't run on the donations, to be honest. It is all self-sustaining mode. Whatever we are generating, we are giving back to the society. So in next 5 years also, I don't know that whether we are going to have a team size bigger than this or not, because since last 8 years, we are the 4 people who are working together for this course, basically. Team size wise, no, but activity wise, or maybe more of a expanding our course to the different villages, different part of the cities, or different part of the India. That can be done.
Definitely.
That we are marching towards, because we want to be very honest, for me, it is like once we do a self-sustaining model for one village, I have to move to another village to make them self-sustainable. So this is what my idea thought process is.
Beautiful.
So that's why the reach-wise, yes, it is going to be global. It's going to be at the other part of the India as well, other part of the tribal cities as well. But yeah, we need help as far as the volunteering is concerned, because we are not an NGO who are in depending on the donations or anything. It is a self-sustaining. We generate, and even if we get the funds, it is for the earmark for the specific cause. And once that cause is done, we are remaining with the very few pennies, to be very honest. So this is how, like penny wise, even in the 65 lakhs, what Cassandra told, the single penny is not left after the COVID end.
Yeah.
We bought everything.
So
Blasia would tell us how
everything.
much money had come in. Mahesh would buy that much and we would ship.
No, that's good. You're being accountable, and that's a huge thing.
Yes.
Yeah, like we
And
are
we
not
generally believe,
looking at the funds or fixed
yes,
deposits in the bank. We don't want that.
no.
We're not after that.
And we generally see when we roam to the different villages, we see the what pain points are, what the need is basically, instead of just bombarding with the stuff the corporate want to do.
Absolutely. All right.
There are CSR projects, they just want to bombard the things, but whether it is required by the tribals or not, so that need to be judged.
Correct.
So basically that will come when you work on ground basically.
Agreed, 100%. All right, the next question is focused completely on yourselves, right? Like Cassie and Mahesh, on an individualistic level. How do you guys take care of your mental health when things get going, things are not going, things are difficult, you're angry, whatever? On a difficult day, how does mental health care look like? Mahesh, I'll start with you. Cassie, I'll wrap up the conversation with
you. So generally, my hobby is art. So generally, my weekends goes into art basically. Whether I'm like visiting any tribal areas or whether I'm sitting at the home. If during my low time, when I have a mental stress, I generally perform art because art is a therapy.
Yeah.
And I generally do art. For example, today I was doing this. So basically,
lovely.
So I was feeling low because I have taken sabbatical since last 3 months because of the stress things. And during this last 3 months, I have experimented on different art basically.
Beautiful. I'll one day get you to do something on my sari.
We will do for sure.
Thank you. That looked beautiful. Very inspiring. Cassie, how do you take care of your mental health?
I have two things. I love sewing. So needle stabbing cloth is great for me, whether it's at my sewing machine or whether I'm doing thread paintings. I like doing thread paintings. And I do part of our fund generation personally. That is my personal thing. Mahesh paints and generates funds for the foundation. Yes. I do thread paintings and generate funds for the projects that we do. Besides, of course, the work that the Warli people, we pay them and we buy their products. So these are two things. And on any day, if anyone is feeling depressed, okay, the Japanese have this thing called forest bathing. Today I went into Aarey, it's the rainy season. The different shades of green that you see is so soothing to the eye. It can uplift any spirit. So I always say, get out, from your four walls, because that is what is dinning you and putting blinkers onto your eyes and tunneling your vision. Get out there. The outdoors is a great mental health de-stressor. Really.
So you've combined everything with your main cause, mental health and care for the community.
Yeah.
That's one.
Yeah.
One last question is, actually, I'll club them together. Cassie, what will be your message to anyone who might be listening to you today, tomorrow? And where can we find you or the TNF on social media?
Okay, we are on Instagram. I learned how to be on Instagram from my children for the work that I do. So we are on Instagram and Facebook at the rate of the Nazareth Foundation. Very easy to find. We're completely transparent. All our projects are online. You can have a look. We do have a website, but for how long we can sustain the website? Because it's expensive to sustain a website online. I'd rather put the funds into projects than a vanity website. So the Facebook and Instagram handles are free. That is what we manage ourselves. So that is where you can find us. That is the first thing. And the second thing is, my mantra to anybody is, if you want to make a difference in society, or even if you're feeling depressed, okay, pull yourself up, because if you are helping somebody, it uplifts you as well as the people or the community that you are trying to uplift. So it's a win-win situation. You can't go wrong. And start conversations about change, because that is how you affect changes.
Very true.
Wherever you go. That is what I would like to tell everybody.
Very true, Cassie. Thank you. Mahesh, what would be your message to our listeners?
See, for me, I generally believe in like a holistic thing, like serve all, love all. That is the one thing, and change starts within from yourself first. Right? Not able to hear me?
Now we can go on.
Okay, okay. So I mean to say, knowledge comes from everywhere. You just need to be at the right point to receive it at the right time, and to like expand your knowledge or to give back to the different people. You will increase your knowledge by giving back to the society or like that. So that's why mantra is like ano bhadra kratvo into vishwata, like the noble thoughts or noble things will come to you from different directions, and you need to be at the right source of the like a knowledge thing. Then you can also distribute to the different part of the world.
Absolutely.
So whether it being it a art, whether being it is a knowledge, whether being it anything, it should start from you and give to the different part of the world.
Beautiful. Both of you, very inspiring, heartwarming, whatever you've done, whatever you've said. All right, to my listeners and viewers, so these are the two stalwarts of the Nazareth Foundation doing some amazing groundroot work to save the indigenous communities in Aarey Forest and to save their Warli, to give them sustainability, to empower women, empower families. We spoke to Cassie, who's the founder, and Mahesh, who's doing amazing Warli, teaching kids. And one day probably he'll get to teach us, and probably he'll get to do a sari for me as well. Some wishful thinking. But thank you, Cassie. Thank you, Mahesh. Wishing you the best of luck for whatever you're doing in the future. You're doing amazing work, and I hope more hands join you in this great cause together. And probably we'll get to see a better India, a better Mumbai one day. Thank you so much for being with me here.
Thank you so much, Chris, for having us.
Thank you so much.
The pleasure is all mine. Thank you.
Thank you.